Oh, we are?
Yeah. I think the more that you do it, it's not that they're similar, but we're definitely finding the theme.
Okay. Okay, this one was gonna be Freudian slips. That's all. It was short.
Hi, Ollie.
Hey, Danny.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are
Good.
you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited for today. So this is Freudian
I
Slips.
know.
This is the place where we get to talk about the shrinks, kinks, and things of the mental health field. And today we are actually going to be doing a fun kind of retrospective look at reality dating shows. I think as couples therapists, this is something that, speaking for myself, I'm really interested in.
Aren't we all?
It's the summer. I think we had a lot of fun with the last episode that we did when we were, what was the show that we were looking at? We've been looking at a few, yeah,
Xbox.
Sex Box, and then like Liver King, we've been looking at a lot of
Oh,
media over the summer. And so I thought that we can kind of round out the summer with, a short season of just let's talk about some reality dating shows and what they look like before we get back into the real stuff. And I promise that we will get into real therapy stuff in the next season. But it's
I
summer.
do. I just want to point out, I love that this was your idea and not mine. Like, I love that you came to me and are like, Ollie, write down these shows. We should 100% watch them and talk about them. And I was like, well, twist my arm. You don't need to tell me twice. And so I just love that this was a Danny Nava suggestion and not the female suggestion in this partnership.
Yeah.
And I love it for us.
I wonder how much of a surprise that is going to be for some people, that this was in fact my idea. Yeah. But what was your introduction to reality dating shows?
Jeez, I don't even really like ever, like just my intro ever.
Yeah.
Oh God, I think the one I've watched for the longest time, which I know is going to be, we're going to get to it because I was like, we got to include this one if we're doing it, is Married at First Sight. I genuinely love that show, but I never really watched The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. I've like seen handfuls of episodes, or like I think during COVID, I think I saw like a season, but that was not, I just don't love that one as much. But maybe high school, maybe it wasn't out yet. I just remember watching Married at First Sight and being like, this is a great idea. And to this day, if I were not already partnered and they came to the Bay Area, I'd sign up. And I'm weirdly confident that I would get matched. I think only like 5 or 6 people get matched. I don't know why I'm this confident. I think it's because I can be really lenient. And like I think you could see many different people that they'd be like, I think Ollie would be fine with this person. Let's throw her out there and see what happens. But that was my intro, I think, was like watching that whenever it started, because I think I saw season 1. So I don't know, maybe sometime in like late high school or early college. But I just specifically liked that show. I didn't really get into like all these other ones until COVID, which I think is when there was just not a lot to watch anyway. And then I really started watching some of these.
Really? That's
Yeah.
pretty late in life.
I know. I don't think I'm the stereotype of the person who loves now sometimes I think they're like a hilarious watch, but I have not been the type that normally like would binge certain TV shows, especially the like reality dating ones. But I think it is more fun almost now to watch as a therapist than before, just like for pure entertainment purposes.
Okay. All right. Fair. Fair.
How
Fair.
about
Fair. Fair.
you?
For me, and I think this is why I'm the one who suggested this, is this was actually a pastime for me growing up.
You did have sisters.
Yeah. So backstory or context, yes, I grew up in a house filled with women. So it was mostly my mom and my 2 sisters. So when typical days were like, I'd go to school, I'd come back home, we'd do homework, do the whole thing. We wait for my mom to come and we would spend time with my mom. And this was one of the things. We would just watch TV shows. And I feel so old because this was the thing. Do you remember having the WB or like just prime time network television?
WB.
Fuck me. Yeah.
No, I
All
don't.
right. Putting that on the shelf. We're not going to open that.
We'd come home and watch like Sábado Gigante with Nona, okay?
Yeah, like I'm talking about a television network. It was a television network. You'd have
And
after school cartoons and nothing was streamed. It was a
yes,
TV
yes, yes,
guide.
yes.
Yeah, nothing was streamed. Everything was on schedule. So that is kind of how we hung out. it wasn't just like, well, when everyone gets home or whenever we have time, we can just put on Netflix, we can just put on Hulu, whatever. But back then
Oh,
it
yeah, but
was,
you just knew the show that was, like, on at 3
yeah,
or the one
yeah,
that would be, like, on at 4. You had to wait to watch a new episode of whatever at 8 or 7
exactly.
or something. Yeah.
Exactly. So around like the 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock hour daily, we would have a show. We would have a program. And so me, my sister, my mom, we would all just kind of hang out in the living room and just watch whatever they watched. And one of those shows was The Bachelor. And
I was
I'm a
gonna say, I was like, if he doesn't say The Bachelor, I, like, don't know which other ones were super popular at that time, but
oh,
okay, at least I know
sure.
what The Bachelor is.
Yeah, there was American Idol. There was like So You
No,
Think
but
You Can
that's not
Dance. There
dating. That's
Sure,
singing.
sure. Yeah. As far as dating, it was The Bachelor. And I am a romantic at heart. And so, I don't know how old I must have been, like 7, 8, 9 years old. Way too young to be watching this shit. I honestly thought that everyone fell in love and I didn't know what they did in the fantasy suite. I thought they talked all day. Like I had to be told when I was older, like, no, Danny, they fucking. Like that's what they do in the suite. And I was like, no, that can't be true. No, no, you guys are lying. But now I know that no, they probably just fucking. Anyways, so I grew up with these kinds of shows, and I've always found just like relationships and how they're portrayed in media, and like I can't be the only one watching these or growing up with these shows, and it makes me wonder what people think, relationships are, or how they should look. And so, yeah, I think this is super interesting to talk about.
Oh, yeah, these are fun. And Danny, tell us, what is the show we are talking about in today's episode?
So today we are going to be talking about one of, I think, yeah, I'll say, I think this is one of the better ones out right now. And we'll get into why. But
Okay.
I wanted to start with this one because I do honestly think this is one of the better ones out there today. And today's show, we are going to be talking about Too Hot to Handle. It is a show on Netflix. And the way that these next couple of episodes are going to go is we are going to be looking at three-ish shows, three-ish relationship reality TV shows. We're going to be breaking down what's the hook, how does it work, what do we like about it, and then ultimately we're going to be kind of trying to come up with our own fantasy team dating reality show. If we had to do this, what would we want in it? How would we kind of like do it? And as we kind of look at more shows, we might like plug and play some of the things that we find so we can eventually make the perfect dating reality show. So Netflix, I hope you guys are watching.
No one would watch ours. It'd be like way too real. And they'd be like, hey, where's the entertainment value? And we'd be like, no, 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 you don't understand. Like, I think this could be really good for people.
Yeah. Yeah, no one's ever going to pick this up. So it's really just for us to have fun. So let me see here. You want me to break it down on how it works?
Yep. Give us the rules, kind of the overall vibe of the show. What is Too Hot to Handle?
Awesome.
Goodness.
So Too Hot to Handle is a Netflix reality dating show where some attractive singles will show up on an island who think that they're showing up for some like casual hookup show. And as like the seasons have gone on, the producers and the crew will pretend as if they're on a completely different show so that they can be kinky and dirty and just be nasty. These people tend to kind of look for casual hookups. They tend to kind of struggle with commitment, and they are really, really wanting to have sex. That's what they're there for. What happens is that later down the line or later in the day, a big cone will pop up and say, this is actually too hot to handle. The big premise of the show is that you can't have any sex. You have to abstain from all sexual activity. This includes kissing, heavy petting, self-gratification, masturbation, if you don't know what that means, and sex. There is a goal. There is a prize goal of $100,000. So if you're able to build good connections, the whole premise of the show is to foster deep, meaningful connections without physical intimacy. And if you're able to build that, there is a chance of winning $100,000. There's a twist, though. The twist is that for every infraction that the couples do, so every time they kiss, pet, have sex, or just go a little bit too far, money is deducted from the pot. And so quickly, this becomes a huge social experiment over like people just trying to manage their own hormones, trying to manage their own personal, like goals or agendas. and then obviously trying to win a bunch of money. How do you win the money at the end? Is the last couple of couples that are paired off at the last episode or so, they then vote for who they think which couple or which person is has grown the most in their eyes. And so I kind of like that about shows like these. It's very much within the crowd, like they're the ones living together the whole time, and so then they decide who they think deserves the money. I think that's a sweet way of doing it. The goal, the show aims to encourage the contestants to develop deeper emotional connections with each other rather than focusing solely on their physical attraction. And I think what's really nice about this show is that the contestants will participate in workshops and challenges designed to promote the personal growth and self-awareness, encouraging them to examine their relationship patterns and communication styles. So it's not just about sticking them all in a villa and just waiting to see what happens. The reason why I like the show is because it does push those workshops, or at least in the earlier seasons, that seem to be a little bit more of a focus. So that is the basic premise of Too Hot to Handle. Did I miss anything, Ollie?
I don't think so. The amount of times that you have said that you really like the show, I find slightly alarming.
Really? Why?
Okay, so I think the first season is very different than other seasons because the first season, at least in my opinion, is the only one that feels like truly these people did not know what they were signing up for because it was the first time this had ever been done. And whenever I would watch like an intro episode to a later season, because this was the one I watched in COVID, that was then my gateway drug to all the other ones. I watched the whole thing, and anytime I would see like another season of Too Hot to Handle come out later on, it's like people would allude to like, oh, like I knew it was this show, or it's like people already knew it was a show. And so I think by default, maybe not that it's like you kind of get a one and done, but I think your first time to really actually see any authenticity in this is probably the first season. And again, you're picking people that are saying they have trouble with these things. I also don't really know if it's like they have any desire to change. I think they may like during the show in interviews, people will allude to that or allude to like, I'm growing so much. But it's like, I don't know about that. But I will say, I do like that they have the workshop component versus other shows that don't touch on that or like have anything even related to personal growth, it feels like. And even Lana, even though I'll talk about kind of a negative that I think she brings, which is the little talking cone, I do like that Lana tries to kind of give some feedback or be like, oh, we're doing this because it could help with this. Or like, we've noticed many of you, blah, blah, blah. And like, that is why we're sending you to blah, blah, blah. So I do like that she's trying, but, I just don't know how receptive the crowd is.
Sure. Yes. Why is this my favorite, or why do I like this show so much is because of those workshops. So I was actually very surprised when me and my wife sat down to see it because I had seen so many of these shows before. Right? Going back from that hopeless romantic who used to watch The Bachelor and think that it was real, to the jaded man that I am now and just disappointed with how society handles relationships. When this show came on, they quickly and made kind of like a big point to showcase the exercises. Now, a lot of shows will have challenges, but this one, they actually brought on relationship experts to help them with like self-awareness, self-discovery, and talk about sex in a healthy way. That is what I think this show does very differently and better than any other show that I can find right now. And I do think that this counts for something. The whole basic premise is around abstaining from sexual activity. I think that is a good idea on a dating show.
Yes.
I think yes, we need that. When you're talking about growth, like how can we really measure growth when you get a bunch of horny people on a show and you let them just secrete their stuff all over each other the entire season? Like, I know. And so when the basic premise was like, hey, all those things that you will typically do to think you're in a good relationship, yeah, we're taking that out. We're not doing that. Obviously, no one listens, right? The money pot has gotten real low from time to time. But I still think that that's a really, really smart idea and a very interesting twist in a reality show. So that's why I like this one so much.
Okay, well, and speaking of the workshops and like the kind of quote unquote like interventions maybe kind of used, um, I I guess I find it interesting because I do think they have, and right, like any TV show, I think what they're trying to do, like you said, Danny, I like the idea as an idea. Like, for an example, I think it's season one, but they do this, like, they called it a Yoni
Well,
Puja
that's what I was thinking
workshop.
about. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have the expert come on, which I've seen her in other things for sure. She's definitely the woman who was doing it is like very big on social media. Like I'd say more than an expert. I would maybe not more than an expert, but she definitely has like an online TV presence. And so they bring her on and she has people do like almost using like art therapy kind of techniques to like draw and like envision their yoni, and she like goes into, you know, the power of your yoni and like these different things. And I believe that workshop was just with the women, and so and the men
Yes. Men
did.
don't have a yoni.
Yes, yes, but they still, who knows though, some shows might have them participate in a yoni workshop for
Sure.
TV
Yeah.
purposes or
Yeah.
something, you know, and like maybe they get weird and gross about it. But I did like that it was like, okay, this was just for the women, and I think the men all kind of did their own workshop thing.
Mhm.
But there are times where it's like I get it. Like I do think some of those when you just kind of look at the, like it could almost be looked at like a group therapy kind
Sure.
of exercise or activity. And I think it's just through the interviews they do with people after, or you could tell the people that are like very uninterested, that it almost makes you like kind of facepalm and you're like, what is this? And so I do think that there are attempts and things that you could pull out. And if you were to just look at this for like what it is and how they're displaying it, you could definitely relate things to different therapeutic practices or techniques or theories. However, I think the show tries to make it like, wow, look at how much we've learned today and like how life-changing this is. And I think that's where it's a little comical. And it's like, well, no, change in your perspective on things like that probably takes a very long time to shift and change. So I just find it interesting and kind of comical, honestly, when these people will do like a workshop. And it's one thing if they realize like, oh wow, I didn't know I had this much like pent up feelings toward this, or like I didn't realize there was so much there. Like that's one thing. Like, oh wow, like there's actually a lot more to uncover below this that I didn't know about. That's one thing that I think is, you know, if that's true, that's great. But it's when people are like, wow, I have this like whole new perspective and I'm a totally changed person now. And
Mhm.
I view this entirely differently after this 32-minute workshop. And it's like, okay, well, we tried. So I do think aspects of it are there. I just, you know, you throw the TV and all the reality TV stuff in, and I think it dampens it down a little bit.
Yeah, I think everything that's filmed has to then be taken with a grain of salt. And I mean, the proof I think is going to be in the aftermath, where we're going to talk about the success rates of this show in a second. But I think that that says a little bit more about the contestants than it does about the exercises.
Yes.
You know, people who have never had this self-awareness, who have never even attempted to look at themselves in this way, yeah, might they exaggerate or might they feel in the moment that they have had a huge breakthrough? But in even a couple of hours, it's really not going to mean anything. Yeah, I think so. The exercises themselves, I think are really, really cool. I think are really nice. I love
You know
them.
what it kind of reminds me of? Sex Addicts Anonymous. Have you ever? I had a supervisor before that, and like when we were in school, I don't know if you guys had to do this, but we had to go to or like help with a few like AA meetings, or you could
Yeah, yeah.
do, what are some other ones like OA meetings,
Or Al-Anon.
Al Anon meetings. So it's like you could participate in these meetings. But in grad school, it was funny. They specifically were like, hey, I wouldn't do the sex addict meetings. And I had a supervisor in our program, in our PhD program, that was specifically like, oh, I hate running, or like I hate helping out with the Sex Addicts Anonymous, because apparently it's one of the only groups that actually like spikes the behavior more than helps and supports people,
Mhm.
because you get a group of people that are all suffering with the same issue, and they just get in there and like talk about sex and how horny they are, and then they like couple up after and they go do stuff. And this kind of feels like some of those exercises. There was one, I forget the name of it or what season, but they like paint on each other in
Yeah.
their like coupled. So this was men and women.
Mm.
And they were together in this workshop and like doing body paints on each other, which like can be like very connective, very like if a therapist was, I mean, I don't think a therapist would really do that in their office with you, but like as a homework assignment or something, you know, I might tell couples to do something like that. I think it can be like very connective. But that one specifically, I remember all their interviews were hilarious because everyone was just like, oh my God. And then, you know, it's like, all I'm thinking about is how horny I am. And like they're trying
Yeah.
to teach us stuff. And I'm like, I don't care. And it really felt like Sex Addicts Anonymous to me.
Sure. Yeah.
Not to say that every Sex Addicts Anonymous meeting is like that, but
Not
just as
to
a
get
funny
into
aside.
that, but that actually makes a lot of sense.
Thank you. Yeah.
That goes into like why I think like sex addicts, like as the idea is extremely flawed. But that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get it.
Cool.
Then we should take a note of that though, because that's, yes. It is interesting though. If you've ever been to like all these different meetings, it is funny that some have, and granted, each meeting has like its own culture and they're all very different. But it is funny that some of them feel very supportive and like, oh, like I see how this helps. This is helpful. I get, you know, and then sometimes you go to other meetings, Sex Addicts Anonymous, that you're just like, what are we doing? Is this helpful? Why do we have this? But anyway, so yes, I do. You're right. I think it's a lot more about where the people are at. And it almost feels like when you force people to go to therapy versus when they are willing and want to go to therapy and
Sure.
just like how different the outcomes can be.
Yeah. At the beginning, these people are not ready to go to therapy. They're ready to meet people and to have sex. And
Yeah.
so this definitely is pulling out the rug from under their feet if this is a legitimate experience or authentic experience. So yeah, I can see how a lot of people are just not there to learn. They're there to have fun. And again, as much as I like it, the success rate kind of speaks for itself. So I try to figure out how many couples are still together, and this needs a little bit more context. So, in a lot of shows, there are like shows like The Bachelor, you end up with one couple at the end.
And they're straight up like engaged.
Right.
I think a lot of these shows, it's also important. Like there's an engagement component to it. And like the premise of the show is to like end up with someone.
Yeah.
That is not necessarily the premise or the point of Too Hot to Handle.
Right. And so in shows like this, you have multiple couples. That can change within the show. And so just kind of keeping that, the way that we're kind of looking at this is the established couples at the end of a particular season. Where are they today? Are they still together? What I looked at is that from what I can tell, that as of 2024, I only see that 2 couples are still together. And this has nothing to do with them being engaged, married, or even happy, but they're still dating. They're still together. What did you see from this?
I saw that there were 3. One, I believe, had children or a child.
One had, I saw that one.
Another was, I think, one of the seasons I saw a few episodes of because I remember seeing them, and apparently they've been off and on a little after, but like technically I think they're back on, and the other couple might have been similar. So I mean it's looking like 3 tops, if you would call it that. But I don't know if there's a way to really have an actual success rate because I don't think the shows, like the point is like, oh great, we're together. As much as I think when we do like Love is Blind, Married at First Sight, I think there's very clear metrics of like the show ended with this many couples saying they wanted to stay together or who were actually married, of which X amount have like gotten divorced or have separated. Like that feels different to me than this show. That the point was to foster deeper connections, but it's not like you necessarily are trying to, I mean, I think to win the money, they want to get paired. But the point of the show is not to have everyone like coupled. It's just to like work on yourself and foster more meaningful connections.
I agree with you. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about it like that. Originally, I was thinking about how many of the couples are still together, like are still paired off. But I think you're actually right. I like your interpretation of it better in that that's true. The point really wasn't to, while a lot of them idealistically wanted to have a relationship outside of the show, I think the success rate might come down to, did they actually learn something about themselves? And did what they learned, did that follow them into their real life? So I think that
Mhm.
that's a much harder thing to figure out. So originally I was going to say that this show, sadly, while it might be at the top of my watch list, is most likely the least successful show.
I mean,
But
Danny, I think it still might be the least successful. I don't.
all
You
right.
really have high hopes here, and I don't know where they're coming from.
Okay, true. All right, sure. Yeah. This show probably sucks in terms of building
I
real
don't mean
relationships.
I don't mean it like that. I just mean like a whole I mean kind of speaking to like how people would have to grow, and that's kind of a part of this. Like a big theme obviously is this like emotional vulnerability and like the intimacy that like the point of the show is to repress or force you to like look at other things first. And like we've brought up, it does seem to highlight individuals who struggle with emotional vulnerability and authentic connection, and who often like admit to resorting to superficial interactions and like
Hmm.
caring about physical intimacy far more than a deeper emotional connection. But I guess what I find interesting is then, yeah, when you take those people and then put them all together, that's also, I think, innately, if we're looking at this like couples therapists, I don't necessarily they'd be great to feed off of each other. It's like
Yeah.
I almost think I picture couples or just even an individual coming to me who struggles with these things, who A, actively knows that they want to work on it, like is seeking therapy and help for it. And I would almost think that they're going to start going on dates and maybe find someone who kind of scares them a little bit, or who's challenging to them because that person maybe is better at wanting a deeper connection or is trying to get there with them. And
Mhm.
then you'd work with your client through like, whoa, or it's they're like, I want to run away. I don't like this. And it's like, well, why? Wait a minute. Like it being scary is different than you, like, this is actually what you have said that you wanted. So, like, what's going on here? And so I think when you get a bunch of people that struggle with this, it's like, sure, in theory, it's like, let's work on it. But you also have all these people that have not really been very capable of doing this in the past or have struggled with it, that now we're just going to put them all together as isolated individuals and just think it's going to get better. Like, that's an interesting thought to me. Not that they actually think that this is going to work or that that's the point of the show. At the end of the day, it's a show. But I am just saying, if we are critically thinking about it, I think that's kind of another flaw, is that they're all struggling apparently with this, and they are all saying they're very superficial people that are kind of like sex crazed.
That is true. One of the things that does always bother me about the first few, like about the first episode of all of these seasons, is listening to how superficial and, to use a non-clinical word, dumb everyone sounds. Like when they do the interviews, how they cut to what's actually happening to what their thoughts are in like the confession booths or whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone always knows how to flirt. Everyone is always talking about just how charismatic they are, or how they know exactly what they're looking for in a relationship, or what it means to be with them. And honestly, when I'm listening to them introduce themselves in the first episode, I'm always in my head, I'm just like, whatever, you're an idiot. It's so hard to take you seriously. I don't know how people like this actually function in the real world. It really does seem like these people live in a bubble. Like, surely you can't just go out into a functioning part of society and use these tricks and say these lines and people will take you seriously. Or is that just me?
I
Am
don't
I
know.
dumb?
Well, okay, so it's like I told you, season 1, that girl
Mm.
Francesca, I
Yeah.
really like her. I follow her on social media. She's smart. She's a smart bitch. And I mean bitch in the best way possible. Like, she had like a bikini company that she's like wore her own bikinis on the show the whole time. She like has a family life and her own. And I think she actually was like stayed with the guy she met on the show for a while. And when that breakup happened, at least they made it sound like she made it sound like it did hurt and it was like real. Like she really liked him. But I mean, she's smart enough that like this has only built her brand or like made her brand bigger. But okay, sorry. So to speak to that, I do think there's a mix of, I do think there are some people on the show that in their personal lives, maybe they just know how to play it and they know what to do on the show to like get more views or like come across a
Yeah.
certain way, when in reality they're nothing like that, or it's like, oh no, like you're really smart. But I also think a lot of these people were found on social media and like DM'd to be on this show. Some of these people truly just look like this. Not to say that they don't work hard for it, but it's like my 4'11" ass is never going to look like some of these people look.
Sure.
It's like, I do think some of them are just so genetic. Like they're honestly just, they're too hot to handle. I really think they just walk through the world as like this 1% of just gorgeous people. That was I talking to you? There is someone I know, God, someone I know is telling me that they have a friend who is like a sized to model or something. I don't know. They're the people that you literally just like jean companies will reach out to you and be like, hey, come wear our jeans in photos and stuff and we'll pay you, because their bodies are so like perfect that like companies will want you to put on their clothes and they'll like pin the clothes to your body because they want people to think or it look like, oh, like look at how good these jeans look on this person, when the reality is like they're just this random few who their body has these like crazy genetics that the proportions are a certain way. It's like the pants, not, if anything, the person's making the pants look good and they tailor it to their body because they love the shape of just how the person is. And so I do think there are people that walk through the world that are just so effing good looking that it's like they probably can act like that and shit works out for them. Or it's like that's their job. And not to say it's everyone that went on this show, but like it is such a catch-22 of like, I really want to believe that this was all a show for the show. You know, it's like all of this was a facade. You knew how to play it. Like this isn't who you really are. And to an extent, I think yes. But sadly, I also think some of those people, this is probably just how they are. And like, this is their job. They're very good looking. They get to travel and companies are like, wear my stuff and post photos and we'll pay you. Or like people think you're hot and enough people follow you that like, do this, do this, do this. And that's your job. And it's power to them if that can be their life. But yeah, crazy, right? That sorry, I'm really going on a rant. But one of the other points that I think this relates to that I wanted to bring up is I don't know if it makes me like the show more, but one thing that I'm like, I got to give it credit. I do think it kind of highlights especially American dating culture today. And so even though it's a show, I do think it plays on the fact that many people, and in the dating world we live in and with dating apps, there's just this instant gratification that we can have. And if we're not loving someone, or if we don't like it, or we don't think they're hot enough, or whatever, just literally move on to the next person and just have sex with them. Why not? Or like, oh, there's one aspect you don't love about this person, or like, no, it's like you can just move on. And I think there's a level of needing to work for it or wait, or like even with the shows that we were mentioning, Danny, like you used to have to come home and wait for that new episode at 7 o'clock. And I do think that that kind of gave something to the experience that just being able to stream at every second of the day, whatever we want, doesn't necessarily give us. And so for better or worse, I do kind of give the show props, I guess, in the sense that it might be an extreme version of it, but I really think it's kind of an accurate representation of like present day dating culture.
I love you today. I really like the points that you're bringing because I'm not even thinking about this stuff. I'm right now,
I
I'm
know you
on
come in being like, it's one of my faves.
right now I'm thinking about the next show we're going to do next week. And if I compare that to this one, yeah, I would say that this one is a pretty accurate representation of what dating looks like. This will make so much more sense when we get to the next one, right? Watch the next episode next week and then come back to this one, come back to this conversation. It will make so much more sense.
What an elusive plug. We don't.
Yeah. But I think you're right. It really is just kind of sit in this villa, do what y'all do, talk your shit, play your game, and see if you end up in a relationship with someone. And I do think that that is an accurate representation. It is highly stylized and dramatized for television, but that is a lot of what comes in with younger people in dating today. It is very much, this is what I want and this is what I expect a partner to be like. And if they do not meet these expectations, or heaven forbid, I get what the youngsters right now are calling the ick, which is a word I fucking hate. I think it's such a dumb word. I'm old. Then I'm just going to move on. I don't need to commit. And you know what I hate? Of the hundreds and millions of things that I hate the tit for tat bullshit that happens in shows like this. I'm taking a complete 180. I started with loving the show. By the end of the series, I'm going to fucking hate everything. I I hate listening to people talk about how much they're giving themselves and how honest they're being and how transparent they're being, which they're not. To have their partner do a normal American dating culture bullshit thing and them say, well, now I am going to go do this. I'm going to go see what other options I have, this and that. It is the quintessential situationship, shameless plug of a past episode. I think it's
which
stupid.
you hate.
I
And
hate
I
it
actually
so
was much
much.
more open to.
The tables have turned.
Well, okay, then you might love this one too. I think this was on a Reddit thread or something, and then I got more into it, and I was like, oh, that's a great point. I heard someone talking about how essentially Lana, the little cone, is almost acting as like the frontal lobe for these people as well.
Yeah.
And so it's like she is the one that's like, oh, no need to have your executive functioning, like, no need to have to plan or, like work on how to organize these things or critically think. It's like, I'm going to tell you exactly what you can do and what you can't do. And it's like these people still are, and again, for whether it's for TV purposes or not, this whole like, oh my gosh, I just couldn't help myself. And it is kind of funny that you have these full grown adults that are like, you didn't even need to have a frontal lobe on this show. Like, they told you what you can do, what you can't do, and you even have the positive reinforcement of a fuck ton of money. And these people don't care. They're not getting paid a lot to be on the show. If anything, I think they are, but very, very minimal. Like, very, not a lot, I believe. And it's like, so even with that amount of positive reinforcement, you as a grown, okay, maybe not grown ass adult. Some of them are probably under 25. So technically, you might not have a fully developed frontal lobe. But let me tell you, if you can make these decisions to whip your dick around like you obviously are, you should be able to make some better ones, or else I don't know how you don't have babies everywhere. But it is wild to me that it's like, really? Like you can't critically think or restrain yourself at all. Like, yeah. And I get if people go on and like their goal is to be the villain and their goal is to be like, if I stand out the most on this show for good or bad, I'm gonna get other brand deals, other this, be invited on other shows. Like, whatever, you do you. But I mean, in terms of if we are critically thinking about how this show is set up, I agree, Danny. I like the idea of no sex. I think that part's great. I think almost having Lana as a parenting figure who's like, you can't do this, you can't do that, is like not, if you still can't do that as an adult, and it's like, I don't love the like finger pointing and like taking all the decision making off of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me, when you said that it's, for lack of a more professional word, it does feel a little dumb. If it's like, oh, okay, these people also need like to be handheld and told everything they can and can't do. It's like, yeah, I guess I do wonder how they're functioning in the world, but it's because they're really hot.
Sure.
That's how.
Well, I don't know if you saw this in the season or the episodes that you saw, but there are some ways that they're trying to give authority or agency back to the people. I think it's a mixed bag. So for one thing, if Lana sees that a couple is just burning through money, like they just are not getting it, what they will do, and also caveat, if Lana does see a glimmer of an authentic relationship, if they're just screwing around, then she's gonna kick them out. Like she has just asked people to leave. But if she does see a couple having some kind of authentic relationship but just can't keep their hands off of each other, what she will do is she will invite them to stay in a suite together. Now, mind you, this is just ramping it up to 100, but in future seasons, there has actually been a plot twist that at least I didn't notice the first time around. And that is, if they manage to survive the night together without wasting any more money, they'll throw money back into the pot. But there's also this social experiment that happens where everyone who's left then has a chance to decide if they're going to trust that couple. So what they can do is they can choose to forfeit, let's say like 10 grand, so that if they were to just go off the walls and just, paint the walls with their semen and fluids, then at least they won't lose any more than just the 10 grand that they put down for assurance. That is
Yeah.
just saying that, hey, we don't trust you or nothing. But obviously, if you lay down the 10 grand and then the couple comes back not having touched each other, they're going to know that you guys didn't trust them. Another thing that they do is they give them bracelets. They give them bracelets as like in the
What?
later part of the season. And so when
Yes.
they are actually starting to participate in the program in the retreat, if they get a green light, then they can have some physical affection without any, monetary. Yep.
Consequences.
Yeah. So,
Ooh, you're right. You're right. And see, that's where like I think that is a very good kind of like reinforcement.
mm,
Like it just in terms of like changing behavior. That I think is great. And you're right. Okay, I guess they didn't give it enough credit. It does there are times where they can critically think or be like, "All right, guys, like what are we going to do together here
mhm,
that can help us as a team?" It's an interesting show. I don't think I love just the fact that if the premise is to not and again, I get it. It's reality TV and these people are hot. Like we want as little clothes as possible. But the fact that we don't want them to do anything, but we're like, but be in bikinis and half nude all the time,
mhm.
sleep in the same beds, go to this suite and don't do anything. I'm like, I'm just really on the addicts, what's it called, analogies today, but I'm like, we're not gonna host an AA meeting in a bar. It's
Yeah.
just it's why we're in a lot of churches. I mean, it's like, why are we let's pick the proper settings to do these things. And again, I get it. It's a reality show. But I also think that's why now that I'm getting older, I'm like, maybe I am on the spectrum a little bit because I'm so logical with how I think about things that I'm like, I don't just find this as like, yeah, fun show. I'm like, no, technically, like these are not the ways that this should be done. Or like
Yeah.
this isn't actually helping what they say that the point of it is. And it's like, I get it. It's all a business and a lie. I understand. But it doesn't mean it's not frustrating a little bit. I'm like, can we just wear a little bit more clothes? Like a
Mhm.
little bit?
No, I'm with you
Thank you.
in that thinking if I were to try and defend this show as an honest attempt of at helping people build healthy relationships, this definitely would be something that if I were on the crew, I'd be looking at them and saying, really, what are we doing? Because I
You're making money.
think the analogy is perfect. Like you can't have an AA meeting at a bar. We know that these people are so focused on sex. We know that all they want is just tear each other's clothes off. And yet you claim to want to foster deep relationships. Do you have to be trying to do that while they're in such a high, stress environment? But obviously, this is why I would never be hired to do any of these shows. They would think I'm dumb, but you're not getting it.
Yeah. They'd be like, you guys, yeah, you literally don't work in television for a reason. I will say though, to anyone who is out there that might be listening in the off chance it is involved in these shows, can I please, for the love of God, it's on The Bachelor, it's on this one, it's on every one almost that I can imagine or think of at the moment. I think the women are always incredibly good looking women. And I think the men are like modelly good looking men. But
Mhm.
like, where is the rugged? Like, where is like what like these some of these men are hairless and I've got more body hair than these men. I'm like they look like Ken dolls. And obviously like they're male models for a reason. That's great. But like where is like the Rio from Good Girls? I've never seen the show. Bad Girls, Good Girls, something like that. But it's like I want the neck tattoo. I want the guy who's like kind of rugged and like aggressive. I'm like, why? If we're gonna do stereotypically hot people, I just don't think anyone ever leans enough into the hot rugged. And we really stay on the like hot pretty boy. And I would just like that to change, please, in all of these shows. Like, I don't need the metrosexual, really, really like pampered men. I'm like, there's very hot men that are just more rugged and I'd like to see them on these shows. So
That
that's my shameless plug to try and advocate for some change.
that's true. That
Thank you. But
that's
women,
true.
I feel like you get a good lots of different cultures and
Mhm.
ethnicities, lots of different, like, I think all the women are always like gorgeous women, and some are a little thicker, some are skinnier. Like, I think they do a better
Mhm.
job of, which also now we're commenting on people's bodies. Sorry, I'm just being stereotypical as the shows are. But I'm just saying, I see a spectrum of women where I don't as much see a spectrum of men. They're all like very pretty, like clean cut men. And it's like, ugh, just not my type.
Yeah, again,
Very objectively good looking, though, obviously. Not here to knock them, but just
you're bringing in so many perspectives I've never
thank
even
you.
looked at. But no, you're right. I'm trying like to play back as many of them as I remember. There's a lot of people with tattoos on the show, but
Yeah, but I think they still fall in like the pretty
yeah,
category.
that is true. That is very true. Yeah, they're all kind of on the smaller, like thinner side.
Or
While a
some,
lot of
I
them,
will say, too hot to handle. I think you do get some of the jacked,
yeah.
like bigger guys, but they're like, their bodies are just so like shiny and their faces are so like pretty. And
Mhm.
it's like, where are the Middle Eastern men? Where are the Tongan and Samoan representations? Where's Indians? I don't know. It's like there's always like, there's token black men, I feel like, that they put on every show. And then sometimes you get like a hot Asian. And I'm like, that's great. But there's so many other people out there. And the women, I think, are way more like racially ambiguous, or you just get way
Sure.
more. And I'm like, I'd like to see the spectrum increased on the male end, please. Where's the lumberjacks?
Well, I see that's how they get you. That's why you have to watch Too Hot to Handle Germany or Too Hot to Handle Spain. They franchised this shit.
Do they have too hot to handle Tonga and Samoa?
Maybe I'd watch that
Maybe.
show. Sure. Cool.
Mhm.
Let's see. Any challenges that you find to this?
The premise of the show.
Yeah, just looking at the broad themes, one of the things that you had was like challenges and group dynamics in reality TV.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. I think I needed more. Yes. So I think that kind of speaks to earlier when we were saying some of the group things, I think potentially, and like the workshops and stuff almost give me like a group therapy vibe, or things that could be done in like a group therapy setting. But then I also think that there's like the dynamics of reality TV, the pressure to perform for cameras, obviously, I think can hinder genuine self-discovery and authentic expression. And you're also, like we said, this can lead to so many other things. Maybe some people like just kind of knew that they were viewing this as like a launch to their career or a platform that could really like change the trajectory of their lives, as it probably did for many of them. So I think that's always something to consider. I also think the format kind of raises questions like ethical considerations, such as like the potential for exploitation and the impact of airing intimate details on participants' lives after seasons, or what's it called? Yeah, like afterward, people just potentially getting these brand deals, changing their lives in all these ways. And I think it can change like the true intentions of why people would sign up for the show. I don't know. It's like a competitive environment. So does that really make you want to work on yourself, or do you kind of just want to like win? So I guess I don't really know what part of it is truly honest and vulnerable when you're hooking people up to mics, and it's also competitive in nature because you want to like win this.
Yeah, I think with so many of these shows kind of out there, I think it begins to blur the line between what is leading what. Is this truly an accurate representation of dating culture, or is dating culture starting to become this way because this is what entertainment keeps pushing us? Because while I want to believe that people can see a show like this and just have fun with it, I definitely have fun with it. I don't take any one of these people seriously. Um, yeah, I have a lot of fun. I also do kind of hold out a little bit of just headspace for the innocent and immature me of the past that did look at this stuff and was like, these are how people get together. Now, mind you, I'm not saying that I or someone similar to me would look at this and think that this is a good idea, but I think you do kind of build expectations of how dating is and how you might get on top, right? If I see the way that these people talk to each other and if I see the way that they work and what they do, I might not like them, but I think I would be learning a lot of stuff that in my head as a viewer, I would say, well, I'd be doing this differently, or I would totally do this, or I would never let anyone put me in this situation. But again, are you learning from a good source to begin with, or is it just reality TV for entertainment? Should we be taking it seriously at all? And if you shouldn't be taking it seriously, is that taking a shot at relationships and dating culture? I think that's where I really kind of struggle. I want to take it seriously. I want to take a show like this seriously because I believe in relationships, because I want people to be happy in relationships, because I want people to learn. But I also know that it's a show. And so I don't want to take it seriously. But in not taking it seriously, are you then just devaluing relationships and how people should be in relationships? It's this weird mental spiral that I don't even know if I'm able to describe well. I'm pulled at both ends with something like this,
I
is
get
my
what you're
challenge.
saying. I get that. And I think you even saying the like, oh, kind of what comes first, like the chicken or the egg, or like what's leading what. It does make me think like, I guess technically then the only show that isn't doing this is like Love is Blind. But especially when you are picking people that are very, very good looking. And everyone probably thinks everyone else is very, very good looking. It's like, sure, you can be like, but you can't have sex with them. And it's like, that's okay. And it's like, form a deeper connection. This guy could be talking to me about rocks and his rock collection. And I could just be like, sure, I'm interested in rocks. I'm down to try some rocks. Like, what? Whatever you're interested in, man. Like, we will make this work. And I think everyone has experiences of liking someone or being intrigued by someone enough that, like, even trying to form the deeper connections, it's like you're not even all in your right mind. You're just down to entertain things or be like, I could compromise on that. And it's like, wait, what? No, that's not. You want a family and he doesn't, honey. We got to move on.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I do think that when it's, what's the word? Superficiality, maybe?
Yeah, that's a good word.
Then it's, even when you are technically trying to take like the sex component out of it, it's like, I don't really know how deep a lot of these conversations and connections are getting. And I think, to your point, Danny, it does kind of make me wonder. I don't know, we've talked about this on a previous episode too, but it's like really rich and famous people or people that are very, very good looking and have many other things going for them as well. It's like, I don't know, I really want to believe they can still have very meaningful, fulfilled, long-term relationships, but I think skewed sample size, but you see a lot that don't, or it's just very fleeting. And or maybe what they had in common were things that were very superficial, but that was kind of agreed upon. It was almost like cool. Like, you give me this exposure I like, I give you that. Like, but if it's all kind of based on, like let's say it doesn't become superficial. Or no, sorry, it stays superficial. It never really gets deeper than that. But both people are kind of saying that that's what they want. And they both fully acknowledge it. And it's like good for them in that way. I guess as a couples therapist, I can't really knock that. Because if this is what you both know you want, it's fulfilling you in a way that you've agreed to, that you're both perfectly happy with. Like, who are people like you and me to judge the validity or kind of like the soundness of that relationship?
Sure. No,
Go down spirals.
I'm with you.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
fun question. How do you think you would do as a contestant on Too Hot to Handle?
Too hot to handle? I think abstaining from anything would be very easy for me. I have a low sex drive anyway, especially people I don't know. I'd be like, I don't know what you have going on, person. No, thank you. So that part would be really easy. I think being in a bikini every day would be difficult. I get very cold. I also just think being in that, I'm being very technical. I think being in those types of bottoms, I'd be like, no. I need to have other materials, please. I'm a lady and I get lady part problems. And I don't want to be in bikinis all the time, everywhere. I don't like it. I'm also not getting a fake tan for this. I'm pale as shit. My version of flirting would be like, can you help me put my sunscreen on? And so I don't think I'd do well. I'd be curious if anyone was even remotely. I wouldn't be the problem person. I think I'd be having a great time by myself. I'd be like, I came up with all these pool games. I'm just playing them alone. Or I'm just like running around the house doing random things. I think I'd have a good time, but I don't think I'd do well on the show. I think people would like me because they know I'd be trustworthy. They'd be like, Ollie's not going to do shit. And I'd be like, no, 0% interested in that part of the show.
There is a place for people like you on the show. I think every season always has that one gentle soul that we have to protect.
Boring people that get very little airtime. That'd be me.
Yeah, you were the
They would
national
be like, Ollie, how
treasure
are
of
you
the
doing?
show.
I'd be like, I'm having a great time. I sleep easily, so I think it'd be very easy for me to sleep in a room with that many people, even if other people snored. I sleep like a rock. I'm tiny. I think people would want to share the bed.
Nice. Okay. All right, cool.
How do you think you'd do? That
I
was a fun question. I wasn't expecting that.
would never get on this show. No.
Well, Danny, obviously I wouldn't either. You have to answer the question. How
Sure,
do you
but
think you
I
would
mean,
do
like,
on it?
I am not too hot to handle. I am lukewarm at best. I can be handled very, very comfortably. So, like, I just don't even fit. Like, I don't even make the running for a show. Like, I'd
But
probably make
Danny,
it.
you're not answering the question. I
I
wear no makeup and I am the size of a middle schooler. Obviously, I'm not getting asked to be on the show. But how do you think you would do on it is the question.
I think I would be much better on a show like if it was too cold to hold. I think I think I'd win that show. Yeah. Um I'd be terrible at it. I would be terrible at a show like this. This is exactly why I am here and they are there. Immediately when you tell me that there's money on the line, I would be the accountant of the crew. I'd be like, all right, I would cock block every single one of you. I would sleep. I would make rotations while we sleep because I would just be consumed. It would be a numbers game. It's too fun for me to think about this stuff. All that aside, if they had an average Joe edition, and I happen to be on the show, um, then I do think that I can form a genuine connection with people. I hope, like me, again, assuming that I'm interested in what they're saying, because a lot of these people are very superficial.
I will say, I do think I'd fall in the realm of like I am the person like when you were the people you were bitching about earlier that are like, why are you surprised when this happens? I don't think I'd retaliate, but I would be the person that's like, oh, me and this guy get along great, and then he'd be like, blindside me or do something, and I'd be like, damn, am I the only one being genuine this whole time? I'd be
Yeah.
like, I actually thought we were cool. We're not cool. And like I'm actually showing up as myself. And maybe that was a flaw of mine. I don't think I could ever be like the strategist. Is that a word?
Yeah.
There's someone who's strategic in this that's like playing the no. I am who I am, whether that is at my job, whether that is at one supervisor once that was like, be a soundboard. And I was like, this isn't going to work out. I can't dim whatever I've got going on here. I'm like, I just kind of am who I am in any setting. So yeah, okay, I'm with you. I think I could form the genuine connection. I don't know if they would be genuine.
Yeah.
Back.
I think I would get a green light. I think I can get a green light. But again, I'm trying to think of how I would even just approach someone like this, because I just think they can be so vapid. Just if I come up to this villa and everyone is just talking about sex in such a superficial way, I get bored so quickly. I really do. It's my job. I love sexuality. I love talking, but when it's talked about in such a superficial way, I can't tell you how quickly I check out. And so I honestly don't think that I would last a day. I think Lana would just be like, we made a mistake. Your application was actually meant for the help, so we need you to go clean the bathroom now.
You're going to lead a workshop.
Yeah.
Not
I would definitely lead the workshop. I would be happy to lead the workshop, but to participate in the retreat, in the no, I can't.
Do you feel this way too? I don't know if it's more of like a female thing, but when we're just like a girl maybe feels it when a guy does it, but I don't really know how men feel about it, but especially some of the ways, because some of the women talk about it just as like explicitly and like you said, just kind of, how were you saying when it's talked about? So the way sexuality is talked about. Yes, superficially. When men are too just kind of outward with it, or I don't know if they're trying to be flirty or they just think they're hot and they can say whatever they want. I don't know. But when men are very almost, what's the word? It's the opposite of prude. Kind of gross with how they talk about it. And it's like guys do this thing when they think they're good looking and they like lick their lips or they like bite their lip when they talk. Every part of me internally is like, I'm like, get away from me, get 10 feet away. Like, you have creepy vibes. I don't like this. Or when it's just, oh, like, what do you like to do in bed? And I'm like, oh my God, we're having dinner. What? No, if you can't tell, I'm a horrible sexter. But like, I'm just like, oh, no, like there's a time and place for things. This isn't it. and your delivery is disgusting. And I don't know if men get that same vibe from men who are kind of like that. But like I know a lot of girls that feel that way, that are just like, oh, dude, ew, like too much. I don't care how good looking you are. It's like, this isn't hot. I don't like this.
I don't know if I'm a good person to ask because I am a notoriously bad representation of the average dating male population. Because I'm with you. Even if a girl is that forward, I find it to be such a turnoff.
Yeah. I'm like, why are we already talking about that?
Yeah.
Or like, what is there nothing else that's interesting about you?
Exactly.
Is that your selling? If that's your sales point,
Yes.
it's like, bro, the average dick is great.
Yeah.
So it's like if you think that your big dick is the biggest, or I don't know, the best part about who you are and your personality, like, ew, and
Yeah.
that sucks for you.
Yeah, and like you know nothing about me. You have no idea who I am, what I'm into, what I like. And so for you to come up and just assume that you can just rock my world tonight and that I can't handle you, I'm like, why are you why is this conversation? I don't know. I'm with you. I don't get it. I find it very unattractive. No thank you.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
We are on the same
Because I
page.
literally would not, when I was single, I was like, I'm not telling someone I'm a sex therapist until much later on. I'm like, I'm a school psychologist. Let's go with that one for the foreseeable future.
Cool.
And it's like, I'm not even saying the word sex in front of this person for a long time because it freaks me out. I don't like it. In the dating culture sense, I'm like, no.
Closing question. So, as we are building the best dating reality show that's never going to get made,
Yeah.
what would you
Definitely.
take from Too Hot to Handle and what needs to go into our dating show?
No sex.
No sex.
But I almost would encourage masturbating. If that's allowed.
Tell I more.
Well, I just think the no sex for connecting with another person or that part waiting. I like that idea. Like, that's happening enough in our current culture. People get the instant gratification. Let's wait on that for a little. Just like build other forms of intimacy. But I think in the meantime, there's no need to stifle that if you're someone who has a higher libido or would like to experience pleasure. Like, by all means, you do you give that to yourself. Absolutely. Like, I'm not trying to shame just the people wanting to get off. I think that's fantastic. Or like, just, you it's like taking, I don't know, whatever else you got to do in your day. You want to brush your teeth, jack off, and then join the group. That's fine. But like, in a private space, whatever. Like, don't freak people out. Don't just whip it out anywhere. But like, I think you're allowed. Like, I know that one, there's cameras in the shower because it's like, don't jack off in the shower. And it's like, oh, gee, jack off in the freaking shower if you need. It's okay. Because I don't think that's like I'm not trying to be hyper fixated on the sex of this. I am just more so like, I think while we meet and get to know another person, I just don't think we need to have sex on like a first or second date. But for this dating show purposes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think we need to that doesn't mean you can't experience pleasure during that time. I think this show is so highly fixated on these people are so obsessed with this that the point was almost like a purge or just you can't do any of it. And I think if our dating show, I think I'd like a more average pool of people. So this is really never going to take off. And so I think with that, a kind of another average thing, since I'm probably not going to pick anything that's on any crazy end of a spectrum, is you can do that yourself. That's totally fine. But just in the dating realm of this, let's not.
Okay, cool. Damn. I think this is your episode today.
Really?
I really. I'm just kind of echoing everything that you say. Everything that I came in with has just kind of been overtaken, overshadowed, or just shattered, just reworked.
Oh.
When I hear you, I'm like, that
Didn't mean to shatter you. I love you.
in
I
the
want to
best
build you up.
possible way.
Okay.
In the best possible way. I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm just, yes, let's do that. Okay. 100%.
Wait, but you have another one. What else is going to be in here that you've loved, that you have said from minute one of this episode?
It has to be the exercises.
Yes, we do love a good exercise.
It has to be the exercises. I want to eliminate sex. In our dating show, there is no sex. There is no sexual activity. But I have changed my mind on the masturbation thing. I completely agree with what you're saying. Yes, let's stay focused, and this whole complete ban thing, I do now see is kind of nearsighted. And so I appreciate that. So no sex, masturbation, self-gratification is fine. I would like the bans because I do eventually want people to like be affectionate with one another.
And I think it's important to earn things. Like, I do think it's important along the way to have something that's helping you feel like, oh, yay, like I got rewarded for that thing that I did. And like, that makes me want to do more of.
Yeah, but we have to have more exercises. I think that they do, it seems like and this is a formula, every episode has a challenge. Most game shows or reality shows will have two challenges, one where they gives you like a prize and the other one where they end up like kicking someone out or whatever. I would love to have a challenge and a exercise every single episode. They, at least in the later seasons, the exercises really seem a lot few and far in between. They seem to only come up when the contestants are showing to really be struggling. And I want it to be a growth process, not just let me put a bandage on this process. And so I would want a lot more consistent, some good relationship, sex, educational exercises.
This probably might not make the theoretical show, but a part of me wishes that we could add in like a whole routine each day too. That's like each day people get a little bit of time in the sun and get to pick some sort of workout to do for like 30 to 45 minutes. There's like 10 minutes of meditating, like almost like all these little things that we teach in therapy that like just really help like ground people or like create a very good, I think, foundation of just like overall health and people who feel calmer, people who feel better about themselves, more accomplished, like all these random little things. I wish there was a way or enough time in the day that all of those would be folded in to the day, because then you're also, I think, coming in as this almost idealized best version of like you for that day. Like you got in all your vitamins, you got sunshine, like all these things that are backed by research that can just help us feel better, help us be, like feel more accomplished, be more open to things, like do challenging things that prove to ourselves, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. In my funny little world, I'm like, that'd be fun. Hold that in there.
A little bit more structure. We'll add that to the exercises. Those are some of the exercises that they could do. It's just general self-care.
Oh, general self-care. Oh, that's fun.
Cool. Anything else?
Oh, Dan, no. Too hot to handle. I guess the takeaway is these people are hot. Whether the show worked out for them or not, I think life's going okay. Hopefully for them. At least maybe when it comes to job opportunity-wise. Everyone has their own struggles.
So we're going to continue this series and we're going to pick up a different show next time and pick it apart and see what we can add to make a better show.
This was fun. This was a great idea from you.
Thank you. And so next week then.
Yes, next week. Okay. Love you, Danny. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.